with us. When Joseph woke up, he did it with her until her son was born. And Joseph named him. Amen? So he did what God asked him to do. A dream. Now, if you just a little bit of stuff, now he was even breaking the law, just putting her away quietly. Because if you go back to the law of Moses, she was supposed to be stoned. Stoned to death. Right? Because it appeared that she had sexual relations with somebody else before she got married. And she was already betrothed to Joseph. Right? But Joseph listened to God. He said, well, Chris, this is a big thing. Well, loving your neighbor is a big thing. Right? I mean, if you say this is a big thing, right? But Jesus said, when he was asked, what's the most important commandment? He said, these two things. Love God and love your neighbor. Those are big things. They're as big as Jesus, as Joseph listened to God. Well, you can say, well, he had to listen. He didn't have to listen. He could have messed this up. See, if we think that God set this whole thing in motion, he needed people to listen to him. And that's what he calls upon us to listen to him. It's that simple. And Mom was talking a little bit about pride. We've seen people, especially in the last, because at work, their pride. Right? It's like amazing they can even walk inside the door with a head that big. Like, are you kidding me? Get over yourself. Right? Get over yourself. And that's a joke. You know who God chose? Humble people.
That's right.
Humble people who said, okay, Lord, your way, not my way. It's pretty, it's so simple, but it's hard, right? I mean, it's still hard to walk it out, to just listen to him. Amazing stuff here. Well, I want to get, because we're going to take up the offering, but there's a teaching in here. There's a teaching in here in Matthew chapter 2 about, I never thought about this word. This is why you got to have a study Bible, right? And you got to read the comments from, someone who you think knows more about it than you do, right? Who studied it out. Because, and I never thought about this before, but the three wise men, right, who show up, there's a reason behind why they actually showed up. And it's not just the reason, but it was multiple reasons, right? Where are the wise guys? Right? In chapter 2, Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem, asking, where is the newborn king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him. King Herod freaks out, right? King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of leading priests and teachers in religious law and asked, where is the Messiah supposed to be born? In Bethlehem, in Judea, they said. For this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not least among the ruling cities of Judah. For a ruler will come from you, who will be the shepherd for my people Israel. Then Herod called for a private meeting with the wise men, and he learned from them the time, right? So they saw this after Jesus was born, and they have to travel. So there's a period of time that took place here, right? No one's really sure. It's within 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And he learned from them the time when the star first appeared. Then he told them, go to Bethlehem and search carefully for the child. And when you find him, come back and tell me so that I can go and worship him too. Liar, you liar. After this interview, the wise men went their way, and the star had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasure chest and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. When it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. So they don't go back to Herod. They go. Now, it says in this translation, when they saw the star, they were filled with joy. When they entered that, they were one of my study Bibles said they can't, the Hebrew word, the Aramaic words, they go into this long discussion of the joy that they felt. Right? Exceeding gladness. You can't be more joyful than they were, right? Because they had seen his star. They know he's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. They know he's God, and they can see him with their own eyes. Then they worship him, even though he's like a year and 9 months old, right? Even though he's just a little guy running around, pooping his pants. I mean, oh, it's Jesus, he didn't poop his pants. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
He peed his pants. He probably, I remember Sam being like, 3 years old, and I'd see him just taking a leak in the backyard. Jesus probably did stuff like that. We think of, he was just, because it's not sin to pee in your backyard. Right? Right? But they bring, and so this is amazing. So I'm going to turn over this because I want to read this commentary here, because this is good stuff. Bear with me. Was it verse 11? And they opened their treasure chests. Now listen to this. This is cool. Because I never thought about this. Because I just thought, I just thought about, they just gave them they gave them gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Right? Let me read this, because this is amazing.
Give them a lot of.
Because we think, sometimes we get hung up on how God can provide, and we worry about things, and we can worry about, am I going to have enough money for this? How am I going to do this? Trust, right? What they gave, listen, these wise men were extremely wealthy. First of all, let me just say this, right? It wasn't just 3 guys showing up on camels.
No.
Because
We weren't on camels either.
that many, you're right. They had an entourage. In one of my study Bibles, it says there's probably over 100 people with them, right? Because they needed to be protected. Why? Because they were carrying treasure. They were carrying lots and lots of treasure. We're talking about the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And what amount? They're thinking, what amount could we bring that could possibly be enough? And so they just heap on stuff. They heap on stuff to bring, right? So remember, so that's not 3 guys and and a couple other soldiers to protect them. You're talking, who knows, 120 people coming across the desert following the star. Awesome. These wise men were extremely wealthy. How many God can provide? When he decides this is what I want to do, he's going to provide for it. Right? They presented gifts that totaled a great sum of money, not tiny presents wrapped with bows. Right? But treasure chests full of financial wealth. Although we are not given the monetary value of each type of gift. We know that frankincense and myrrh were extremely costly. These gifts, now listen to this. I met, in just my little, former plumber management mind, it's like these gifts would have financed Joseph and Mary and Jesus' exodus to Egypt and supplied their living expenses for a number of years. Even after returning to Israel, gold is an often used symbol of the deity of Christ. Frankincense points to his perfect life of holiness, excellence, and devotion. Myrrh, an embalming spice, speaks to us of suffering love that would lead him to the death on the cross. Now I think of like, because we need to be open to the revelation of God. So we have to dive into these things. Because I think, like they brought in these gifts, and it's like, how many of you have a gift that someone gave you and you've had it for years? Right? You just have it for years, 25, 30 years. You say, oh, that was from my mother. My mother gave me that when I turned 10 years old. Right? And you just keep it. Right? And I don't know why, but they didn't just keep the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Joseph used it, right? They used it to live on. Isn't that awesome? Our God is so good that he just provided, like, Joseph's probably worried, okay, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? Right? And all of a sudden, boom, he's got enough money to survive for probably 5, 6 years. Amazing. God is so good. God is so good. See, there's more to this Christmas